it's Gadget UK here again. Anyone remember this from about 6 or 7 years ago on my channel? Look how dusty it is, and I've just wiped it. It's filthy. It's not powered on at all. We were away for a week and switched all the power off and everything, and well, it doesn't come back on, which tells me it's probably something that starts up. It's plugged in now. Standby light's not on. Yeah, so the standby side of the power supply ain't working at all. I suspect it's going to need a proper recap, to be honest, because, well, we've had this since 2006, I think, something like that. Maybe before that, maybe 2004 actually. It's the sound system that I use this for, and I've gone back to using the sound that's built into the TV. It sounds terrible. This is like 20 times better. So despite the fact it's so old, and I fixed the DVD on this, you know, video link top right to that. Yeah, I feel it's worth having a go at fixing it again. So it's not powering on, so I've got the iFixit toolkit here, and one of the Torx bits, and I just went off I don't know what size it is, I can't honestly tell. This is one of the things I mentioned, or I will mention in the review for this, is that you'll have seen this clip twice. Yeah, you can't read the things on this, you know, because it's like black on black. It'd be nice if there was like white print or something over here. I know it would add a few pounds if that in manufacturing costs, but yeah, that would just help. But the iFixit toolkit is really good. It really is. The screwdriver, I like the weight of the handle. So I've got 4 of those Torx screws on the sides, and just a reminder, don't unscrew it until you've unplugged it. And in fact, there aren't 4 screws. I was thinking there was 2 here. There isn't. Must be 1 on each side, and then maybe 2 on the back. Yeah, I can see the ones on the back. They look the same size again though. Yeah, it served me so well, this. I've got the other video I did on this, and I've just checked, and in that video I did mention I think it was 2007. Yeah, I just dropped the screw. It was 2007 I think we got this. You know, it's Dolby Digital. Look at the state of this on the back, it's so dirty. It's going to be filthy inside, for certain. But we last went in it in 2019, so it'd be interesting to see how much 5 years of dirt looks like. I suspect a lot. Because like, there was like an inch of dust on top of this. It's right at the bottom of the TV stand thing, you know, we've got like a glass thing. How the hell? Oh, there's one more there. 5. Yeah, and as a result, you can't get to it. You know, there's no clearance above it. There's about that much clearance above it on the floor. So I think we lift and pull back, do we? Away from the front, maybe. Oh, like that. That's it. There you go. Oh, wow, that is dusty. That is dusty. Look at this here. It's solid white. That's supposed to be green. So, just having a quick look around. I dare not breathe out. Yeah, I was just saying to myself, it's interesting there's no dust here around these things. Those resistors, it's a bit weird. It's like mysteriously clean here. But there are a few places on that board that's like that. So, I'm not really seeing anything obvious. You know, I don't see any bulge caps or anything. But you see, if there's a problem with the start-up side, which there seems to be, you know, it just doesn't power on. It could be. Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be something on this board here, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be something on this board, without a doubt. We can measure the voltages. I do remember there were marks on here. Anyway, before I do anything, I need to vacuum around it, I think, because it's just unbearably dusty. Just look how white that is. I'll just hover you over there. It's white there. The power supply not too bad, but it is very dusty. And extremely dusty up here, and spider webs and everything. The other thing I've noticed over the last few years is the display on the front has got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I don't know whether that's like a lowering voltage level. It could be, but it could also be dust. It might be worth me taking the front panel out and stuff and having it clean properly, like more thoroughly than I did last time. I'm going to have an inspection with magnification as well before I do any vacuuming it, just see if I can see anything, any signs of any caps leaking. Yeah, I just switched over to using a paintbrush. Yeah, so it's unplugged at the moment. Just tested it again, it's not doing anything. So multimeter on diode test, continuity test, that is. So they beep when you join them. The fuse here is okay. I thought I'll just check from the plug. I think we screw that side, doesn't it? So if we check from the, oh, that says neutral. That says live. Yeah, from the live to the fuse. Both sides of the fuse, so we know that the fuse here is alright. Mains is getting into this power supply. But I've measured the voltages here, 0 volts. Nothing at all. No sound, completely silent. One of these transformers is going to be for standby. Maybe that's failed, or there might be some of the components there, active components for that. I think the next thing we need to do is disconnect the mains input here. So that's just like push the little clip in and lift it like that. And then Torx again, I think it's a slightly smaller Torx bit, looking at that, is it? Oh no, it's not, it's the same size. And get the screws out that hold this board in. Now, no capacitors there can hold the mains voltage, higher than mains voltage, in fact, because they hold DC, not AC. So when we're talking about 240 volts here in the UK, that translates into about 338-ish volts, I think. When you've got 240 volts AC going in, and DC 330 odd volts. Disconnect these two here as well. Same thing, push the middle bit and pull it up. That one's just a JST, so it should be pulled straight out. And that one's just a JST, so it should be carefully pulled straight up. It's never a good idea to pull these things by the wires, because, well, JSTs, the cables sometimes come out, so it's better to just try and grab the actual plastic connector. Yeah, and actually try and pull the connector out. You can, there you go, on occasion be glued in, which makes it a bit harder. And it's obvious where those go because they're all different sizes, so I can't get those around the wrong way. So when you're handling a board like this that's, may have some charge in it, and most of the time they will be charged, so don't assume they won't. Anyway, I can move the DVD unit out of the way in a minute, just get this on the bench. I may need to clean this up as well. If we're lucky, it might be a dry solder joint. Anyway, let's get this out of the way. I can clean further in there with a vacuum in a bit. And yeah, I'm going to have an inspection on the underside here. Just look for any cracked solder joints or anything like that. Right, I will clean up further here, haven't finished. I've inspected around this, I can't see a single bad solder point. I can't see a single bad component. Nothing, none of the caps look swelled. I'm suspecting it is going to be a capacitor issue, this. We may have one capacitor or a resistor maybe that is problematic. So what I'm going to do, I was thinking about this, it was working alright until I switched the mains off. And then I went away for a week, come back, switched the mains back on, not working. So it's not like it's received a spike on the mains while we've been away, or something's, overheated and failed whilst I've been away. Nope, that's not happened. What's happening here is it's had a week to cool down for the first time in a very long time. And some startup scenario has arisen. So I'm thinking like, a capacitor that's been kept at a certain temperature for an extended number of years has not got enough capacitance. What I'm thinking is if I connect this back up now, I'll plug it back in, and I'm sure it's not going to power on, but then I'm going to get the hot air, set it to the lowest possible temperature, and just heat around a few areas here, and then try powering it back on. See if we can narrow down where the fault is. Heat can sometimes affect resistors and capacitors. Yeah, and I've just got this theory that might help because, well, I'm totally in the dark here. I followed the path of the live and neutral on this side. Everything's there. The main switching transistor's in the middle here, but there's a standby thing as well, so it's very difficult to see what's going where. There are schematics for this. I've got the service manual. Yeah, and I did use that just to help me check the mains input side. But anyway, let's just do this, because it might just, well, speed things up. I could spend a lot of time checking various things and powering it on the bench, etc. And, you know, potentially waste a lot of time, really, trying to work out where it's falling short. Set the hot air right down to 100 degrees. Put the airflow max just to help with this. Bear in mind we've got mains here, so you've got to be very careful. And I don't think it's going to be anything on the main side. It's going to be more likely to be a capacitor somewhere, I think. So, I don't know, just heat around, staying well away from the heatsink. Standby lights come on. I wish I was watching that. It's now on. Dolby. Oh, that's so annoying. What's annoying there is, and in fact I didn't heat much, did I? You know what? I didn't heat much. I heated around these capacitors here. I heated around here in the IC. So you know what? I think I'm going to work my way around some of the small capacitors, maybe the ones here next to the heatsink. Generally, nearer to heatsink is more likely on something like this, but this has come back on. Press open. See what happens. There you go. That needs a clean and lubrication, doesn't it? Look at the state of that. I'm very pleased though, because, well, it's not completely dead. What amazes me about this Philips unit is how resilient it has been despite how decrepit it is inside. You know, it's been powered continuously since 2007, and I cannot see a single bad capacitor on this. I mean, clearly we've got one somewhere, but like none of them have bulged, none of them have leaked. It's just very, very dusty and dirty. So, you know, I will be spending some time here thoroughly cleaning this up. Anyway, I'm very pleased that it is actually, you know, sort of powering back on with a bit of additional heat. Yeah, so just shifting my attention, letting it cool down. I've unscrewed the drive. I covered, you know, disconnecting the laser and stuff previously in the previous video. And then I've unscrewed 2 screws on the sides, 3 or 4 on the underneath, 1 holding there, and then the front will sort of just move out of the way. If I can just hang on. Yeah, the wires are a bit tight. This is where you might want to cut your cable tie things here, just to give you a bit of movement. Because what I want to do is try and well, disconnect this panel here and clean, because I think there's dust inside this. It could also just be about low voltage levels, but like the brightness of the display has deteriorated gradually over the years. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's that thing there's just fell off. It's just been held by the wire. So I've got to be very careful here. Look, you can see that cover is coming away with that. Oh. This is soldered on, isn't it, this JST? Oh, so annoying. Let's take this one off over here. Yeah, I think you can probably see some of that, but not all of it. So, yeah, this knob was the thing holding the PCB in here. So, I just want to just now carefully have a look at this and see if we can clean this up somewhat. See, I suspect some dust went down there, but maybe not. It's dusty anyway, so I do need to hoover around here. I'll report back when I've cleaned up a bit with the vacuum and what have you. And I'm just using maybe it's Maybelline brush, in case you wondered. Right, it's 2 rude intermissions there. Firstly, the camcorder SD card filled up, and then the camcorder stopped working. The power supply, I'll show you the cable. You saw me a minute ago fixing it. I've done it. I've heat shrinked it. Brand new connection. 3 layers of heat shrink. 4 layers of heat shrink, actually. Right, I'll try and do what I was going to do before all these camcorder related issues. It's like, I've had nothing but problems since I got home. You know, like the DVD player not working, and it's the sound, it's really not the DVD, it's the sound. And I tell you what, you get used to something like Dolby Digital, when you go back to, you know, built-in TV speakers, God, it sounds terrible. I'm struggling to hear it. I can't actually, you know, tell the difference. I mean, I've got COVID at the moment, so that might be something to do with it. But I can't hear what people are saying on TV programs and stuff, because it's like really monotone in frequency. You know, everyone sounds like they're in a biscuit tin, more or less, just using the TV speakers. Now the TV we got in the front room I don't like it, I've never liked it, I want to change that at some point. It's very old now. It's a Panasonic. I don't like Panasonics. The Philips is in the conservatory, which I may move in here at some point, but I need to, you know, clear a lot of space and stuff before we can do that. Can't get right to that tray, can I? But now, if memory serves, doesn't this clip off? In fact, it doesn't. That's like a solid piece, that, isn't it? It's like part of the chassis. So you need to eject the tray to clean the tray fully. We can do that when I get the power working on it. I'll just clean that final part of the tray. But it won't do any harm just to clean what I can access here now. It's been hoovered. Yeah, compressed air is what you need, really. Not blowing like that. But it won't do any harm. So, yeah, I'm not even going to re-grease it or anything, but what I will do is just clean the laser lens with some IPA here. Just gently circle the top of it, like that. Just for good measure, I'm just going to touch the plastics and things around here with the IPA, just because it might help us absorb anything that's on there. Look at this here, this. Oh, that's really covered in dust, that. Just being very gentle here because I don't want to knock anything out of alignment. And of course use IPA on plastic like that, and I know that you get this with the lid as well of the whole unit, is that you wipe it and it goes a bit grey because you dissolve a bit of the paint. Right, now we know it's definitely a capacitor. Gotta focus on these ones here, I think. Voltage one, that 200 volts. Yeah, the ground is at the top. It's marked by a shaded area on the PCB. So just the solder points are here. So if I let's do that one. The interesting thing is maybe that is the one because there's some copper exposed here. Maybe that cab's leaked. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll show you in a minute. I saw it before, that copper trace, and I just thought, it's just a bit of localised corrosion, but, well, you need liquids, don't you, generally, to corrode, unless you're in a really humid atmosphere, humid environment rather, you know. Yeah, so it's 100 volts, 2.2 microfarad. With some ESR testers, you need to be careful when you're testing higher voltage cabs, because if they've got a charge in them, you know, just discharge them first, you know, just touch them, and not with your fingers, well, you know, just touch them with some metal contacts like that. This is supposed to discharge them itself, I think, but yeah, it's a good idea just to discharge a cap that's, say, higher than, I don't know, 50 volt, probably higher than 25 volts, a good idea. So this is 2.2, there you go, 17.1 ohms, no wonder this doesn't work. I think that's it first time with that cap, didn't I? 17.1 ohm. That is a problem. I hope they're not all like that. Let's see what that one is. It's a 22 microfarad, 50 volts. Yeah, so this one being 100 volts, it's 100 volts for a reason. I don't think you're going to have a 2.2 at 100 volts. So I do have one that I've took off something. It's got 2.2 ohms, but that's probably not that far off for a 100 volt cap, and it's certainly better than the 17 ohms it was. So you know what, I'm going to stick that on. I'll order some new ones, and I'll check the ESR of the new ones when they arrive, but that would get me out of a pickle, because it's 100 volt rated. And the legs are a bit short on it. It could be a problem trying to fit that on here. Yeah, this one's at a 22 microfarad 50 volt. This one's bad as well, 5.6 ohms. So we'll change that one. These two both had that goo stuff on the top. There's two more here, I'll check those as well, but anyway, so that's a 22 at 50. Yeah, I checked the output ones, the thousands, and they're all alright, really good ESR. It's the ones next to this heatsink, so another one here, 3. It's 9.2 ohms, this is a 4.7, so that needs swapping out. 4.7, 50 volt. Yeah, same again, 100 microfarad is bad as well. All 4 of those ones next to the heatsink were all bad. Yeah, I've got a 25 volt one here. It's an Elmer though. I'm not even sure if that's 105 degree. It's not, it's an 85. I mean, the one that was on there is 85. These are all 85. We're back to the thing about... Yeah, it's got a good ESR. I'm going to stick that in. Let's just check that other one. Was it an 85? I bet it was. They all seem to be... Yeah, it is 85. Everything that was on this was 85. Now, that doesn't mean you should fit an 85. What it means is it's rated up to 85 degrees, you know, before it'll die. But 105 degrees in any power supply is always a better idea. Model solder. Yeah, so like that rail there, that was the first cap, because it's like, it's coppery. It's alright, I've cleaned it now, I've cleaned all the flux and stuff off that. There's still some here, you can see, hang on, as if something did just run down the edge of this board at some point in the ancient past, I don't know. Could be one of those caps when it gave away its juices. It's only plastic, this frame, so it's not like it needs them to be all into ground, and that's something to consider when it comes to like power supplies. You've got metal, but the PCB for the power supply, there are no solder points, but there are on the underside. You know, the underside of the PCB marries with these, so yeah, you might want to get a number of grounds in, not just like one. One might not, it might not work. You might be like, why is it now not powering up? It was working before. And it could just be you're missing a ground. HD TV's infamous for that. Watch 12 volt vids. The number of times he's quickly been able to fix a TV just by tightening up all the screws on it. You're watching my channel because it's you know, home entertainment stuff, TVs, VCRs, you're interested in all those sorts of things, DATs. You know, video recorders, etc. You want to check out 12 volt vids. He is hands down the most active channel on the internet to do with lots of this 80s and 90s equipment. Well, this isn't. This is 2000s equipment, but still, you know, he covers things like this as well, is the point. It's been a good test again for the iFixit toolkit. No issues, really reliable. The bits are really resilient here. You know, cheap set. Already I think I would be slipping on these screws, and I'm not doing. So massive thanks to, oh hang on, John Gotts for giving me the donation that allowed me to buy this toolkit. Right, so let's connect power, hang on, power. You have lots of power connections on these because you have multiple supply rails. You know, things like a standby 5-volt rail, a main 5-volt rail, a 3.3-volt rail, a 12-volt rail, a 28-volt rail, some 20-something volt rail, 30-something volt rail. There's loads of different supply rails for the different aspects or something like that. And obviously, if I was wanting to restore something like this properly, I would replace all the caps on here, replace the main caps, replace all of these caps on the audio section, and replace all of the caps on there. I just want this to work for a period of time longer, because ultimately it's 2007. It's nothing particularly, special about this, really. Yes, it served me well for a number of years here, but I want to replace the TV, and I no longer want the big bulky sound / DVD thing under the TV. I want the TV to be on an arm at some point on the wall to free up floor space. And I'll get a sound bar underneath it, and then I can get rid of this and just be decommissioned. It did take a few seconds to come on, but it came on. But it looks brighter than it was before, I don't know. So let's see what happens here, because I've not got that. I'm not sure I showed you, the pink diffuser is not there. I'll switch it on. Hey, that's even more visible. I'm glad I took that diffuser out. I don't really know what the point of that diffuser was. Yeah, just lowering that down, you can see it says load. Right, we can now clean the tray, look. So, open. The tray doesn't really open, close quite as well as it could. Struggling to see the disc, isn't it? Well, that's not good. No disc. Lies. Yeah, so this is now a new problem, because you know what? There was no problem seeing the disc before. I'm wondering if I damaged the ribbon. Maybe that ribbon's not in right. Let's just clean the lens again with IPA, because, well, we've been blowing dust around and everything, haven't we? So, yeah, I'm not sure you can see what I'm doing here. Just having a bob on that. Just put that back in again to see if we get anything different. Oh, we do, look. You get the smallest particle of dust on that lens, and, well, it's not going to work. There you go, it's working. Yeah, it's detecting it straight away now. See if that fan's on at the back. Yeah, it is. It's silent, that fan. It's amazing. You can't even hear it going. And of course the fan may go up in revolutions depending on how hot that heatsink at the back gets with the audio. As soon as you start getting sound going through there, that might be a thing. Just see if it goes on to Dolby Digital again. When it says root there, I'm not good at connected to TV, but I suspect what will be happening now, it's like playing the, the copyright stuff at the beginning. Last screw going in. This iFixit toolkit has been brilliant. The only thing I would say is the tips, for me, are not magnetic. I don't know that that's something I can deal with. I've got a magnetiser there. I could try and magnetise them. But really good. I like this screwdriver, the weight to it and everything. The end rotates there as well, it's quite cool. Right, so I'm just going to get some soapy water, wipe that down, carry that back into the front room. I clean the cable up as well, because the cable's a bit dirty. And added this bit in the end. Obviously I used a soldering iron to heat the solder points up. Use the desolder pump that I got from Andrew Littleboy. This is an Engineer. It just sucks it up and you can eject the solder. When I changed the caps, I didn't show you close-ups of me, desoldering and the solder and stuff. On the PCB, you get a marking like that for the capacitor, and you tend to find it's kind of split in two, and there's like a shaded bit like that, or there might be a positive indicator. And generally, you'll find that the mark or the shaded bit refers to the negative. This is a polarized electrolytic. One side of it has got this little stripe with a little arrow pointing down this way to this leg. That's the negative. So yeah, that's for a polarised capacitor. In some instances you may find you've got a bipolar cap, but generally not in a power supply, something like we've shown in this video. You'll just have polarised electrolytics like that. So in that case, like they say, the shaded area was the negative. but sometimes they do mark the positive or the negative actually on the, but usually the positive next to, you know, the circle there, so you can tell which way to stick it in. And, you know, in this case here, the negative would go away from us like that. And I use this for testing ESR. ESR is equivalent series resistance. So any capacitor will have an ESR rating associated with an equivalent series resistance, which is usually quite low. You know, like if I measured this, let's do this one. This is a 16 volt 470. So if I was to measure a new one, you'll see it's probably less than an ohm typically. There you go, 0.13 ohms. Generally, when you see more than an ohm, you used to start to question it, but there is a relationship to the voltage. So if this was, you know, higher than a 25 volt or 16 volt cap, maybe a 100 volt one, you might see 2 ohms on there at that sort of voltage or higher, depending on the, you know, the capacitance and the voltage rating. And in terms of the voltage rating, you know, you obviously always want to go at the same voltage level unless you know it's been over-specced by the manufacturer. So for example, on the 3.3 volt rail on that power supply, you may find 16 volt caps. Well, you could go all the way down to, you know, 6 volt caps when you've only got 3.3 volt rail. If you go up in voltage rating, you could do that. If that's all you've got, larger ones, you know, I need to fit a 16, all I've got is a 50 volt, you can do that. But as I said, there's an ESR rating associated with it, so you may find it's provided a bit more ESR because it's higher rated voltage, and that could lead to the, you know, the life being slightly shorter of the capacitor, but generally it won't. And this is about 2 weeks later, you can see it's working. The reason I removed the diffuser from there is it was really faded in the middle. I think light over years and years and years made the middle bit change colour, and I think that's why it looked faded to me. It's like, even though it looked more transparent, the colour of the blue, I don't know, there was something happening to it. So anyway, I removed that pink piece of you know, diffuser or whatever it is, and it just looks crystal clear now, dead bright and vibrant, and powers on and off every single time. Got it standby light on, switch it on. Yeah, so it was just those 4 capacitors, and the ESR tester, I used it to test all of the other capacitors you saw on the power supply, and they all have good ESRs. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting. I'll catch you in the next video.